I got these two reels here. They're the Shimano Trinidad 16na and the Ocea Jigger 2000. They're both narrow spool reels of the same diameter with the identical line capacity, slightly different on the drag settings, but almost identical reels. But I want to see what the difference was between the two. Off the top of the bat, this is a slow pitch jigging reel, high speed vertical. You can use this one vertical as well, but some people will also use it for casting. One note is that this one has on the clicker here, instead of a clicker, it has a spool lock. So when you engage this, the spool locks in a sense. It basically has a gears on this side, and when you engage it, it locks those gears. So that's what prevents it and locks it in place. So if you're stuck on a rock, you can just pull the line up. The next feature is that when you're in free spool, it has an auto engage feature. So right now we're on free spool, auto engage as you wind on the reel. This works just like how a bait caster would work. The next difference is the handle. You have yourself a slow pitch jigging handle. This is a full T-bar style by Shimano with an extended arm. If you're looking at it, it says 80 to 92 adjustable. On this one, your Trinidad, just a little bit shorter, and your egg knob. Now, you do have the option to switch it to a little bit more longer length. You would think that they're very identical, but they're still slightly different. So if you look right where free spool lever is, notice how on the Ocea Jigger on the right side, it's notched on both ends. So there's a notch plate on it, and then it's just one flat surface on the Trinidad. Even on the design of the drivetrain, you'll see these beveled contours on this side, and it's slightly beveled, but it's a flat cutoff cliff right here. So you know that they are both not identical by machining appearances. Even where the screw plates are, they're a little bit slightly different. The Trinidad is evenly spaced out, while on the Ocea Jigger there's 3 in the bottom and 2 in the top. Notice how the star drags too, they're almost reversed from each other. Do you notice that? So this one is forward clicking, and then this one is backing off style, which works either way. And now on the side plate side, your clickers are on 2 different locations. Well, the lock spool here, and if I notice by the side plate, there's more of a beveled on this right on the edge of it. Doesn't make a difference. I'm just showing you the differences that I'm noticing right off the bat. And on this side, it's flat all the way. So I think it also gives you more surface contact when you're hugging the reel, because it's more slow pitch style, that you're able to palm it and you have something more to grip onto. Not sure if that makes a difference, but you know, like you just want to grip onto something when you're reeling in. So the purpose of these reels, narrow spool, I would say definitely much more on vertical jigging, yo-yo in that purpose. As we know, Trinidad's and this Ocea Jigger are both machined aluminum, and Shimano goes above and beyond in putting bearings in just about every location that they can, in a good way, as someone else had mentioned, that all your support load is resting on the bearings itself and not on the frame. Gives it much more smoother action, less friction, and better support. Big Shimano gear in its bronze brass material that applies to both the main and the pinion. One paw right here, another one right here. Big metal anti-reverse that you can kind of see right there. That's right under there. Big ratcheting system. Let's see if we can take a look at the underside of this. Everything was all with a little bit of Loctite on it. Your bearing right there. Anti-reverse bearing. So on the side of this, I can turn it. You can see that, but not the other way. 2 dogs and the single anti-reverse. So let's take a look at the Ocea Jigger in comparison. I did a little bit of research on this handle arm. They don't sell the T-bar by itself, so it comes with the whole arm assembly. I believe that's correct. And I think that price already for this whole arm was something like almost $100. So if you're considering buying it separately, keep that in mind, that price adds up. So as we saw on the Trinidad already, there is that graphite plate composite material that it rests on. One other reel that we did a breakdown on, which was a Pro Gear, and we note that that plate that it rests on is all aluminum, which is very surprising. So that was the Pro Gear V42 that we did a research on. This should come right off. Comes with the spool too. So notice, I'm gonna have all those drop. 2 things already. When I remove this, the spool is exposed for me, and the entire drivetrain is on the drivetrain side. So I would have to separate this. There's 4 screws here. The Trinidad has really larger depth teeth and the Ocea Jigger is really fine. They're about the same size in diameter, I would say, just because of the face reel. How would that handle it load-wise between the two? Smaller teeth versus larger teeth. I would think that if I have a bigger species and there's a lot of pressure on the reel, that this would hold up a lot better. Bigger tooth versus the finer one. So this is much more suited for rock species. Look at that. The main gear and the pinion gear. Really small, fine teeth on this Ocea Jigger. So what makes it super smooth. And looking at the side profile, it's a single dog, and that makes sense because the auto engage is right here on the bottom side where the second dog was for the Trinidad gears. Is double plated. So instead of using one single, it's 2 of them to give it the thickness that it needs for the tooth of this dog. And I see it right here. There's a pin that extends from the bottom one, and I would assume that that's where it engages for the auto click. So all you need to do to disable it is to remove this little spring clip. Once you remove this spring clip, everything just kind of pushes away. It doesn't interfere with the auto engage anymore. Now let's take a look at the drags between the two. One carbon right there. Fits in place for this. Does get a little bit smaller right there if you notice between the two. So I could tell already. If it's that size, notice how this one is. They're much more larger. So 1, 3 carbon fiber, and it would be the thicker washer right here and a thinner one towards the top. Plus the top piece that's a little bit smaller, right? And I believe a single one right under the gear. Let's take a look. Yep, a single one under the gear. It's common. I believe that's the same way under here. So the one on the Ocea Jigger, they're all this size right here. So this is a bottom washer on the, this is a bottom one that's on the Trinidad, and ooh, notice or witness. Ocea Jigger, slightly larger diameter. I mean, now that I'm looking at it, why couldn't you just put this onto this? The Ocea Jigger bottom one onto the left side, and it just gives you a little bit more surface area, right? Now let's take a look at the drags on this. I see a single one at the bottom, so I can kind of scoop it up. One washer, another carbon, and another washer right here, really small. Here you go. 16 and the Ocea Jigger 2000. 2 different reels, finer tooth on the gears, a little bit more coarse, bigger teeth, bigger power behind it. It does have a little bit more drag, same spool capacity. I want to say you can still do so many with this. Just make sure, keep it in mind that with that small tooth, you can put pressure on that, and it's possible. I don't know. Let's see. The only way to know is if you max this out. But yeah, 2 beautiful reels. Make your decision between the 2 of them. See which one you prefer, which one you like. Maybe the NA narrow reels aren't your type and you want something different. Thanks guys. Have a good one. I'll put this all back together too. They're already well greased, so I'm not going to do anything different to this. Just make sure that everything goes accordingly inside. 2 pins facing this way. There we go. And I hope that this helps you with the maintenance of this too. So you kind of see what maintenance would look like between the two. This is already put onto the face cover of attachment where it has to be exposed, right, for the Ocea Jigger. So the springs are inside. Let's see if everything goes in. So bearing came out, no problem. I could put that right back in. Squeezing it, just making sure those work. Engages and disengages. So 4 of the black screws, this keeps the plate cover attached. Not torquing it down, just by hand and in a star pattern. Here we go. Now a little bit pressure. That will be done for this. Put this back on. Make sure that this goes all the way in. I'm curious if it was supposed to go in further. And I missed something, which is the depth of the height inside of it, where, you know, they all had to align. So I think I'm going to open it just to take a quick look. I think this is anticipated if you're doing any type of reel repair. You'd rather put it in and make sure that everything is correct, even if you have to double check twice, 3 times if you have to, but it gives you a better understanding of the reel. Okay, yeah, so there's this pin. I just need to make sure that it fits all the way through. So one thing I'm going to do to make sure it goes in easier, is actually just put it in right now and align it. There you go, something like that. This way. Just want to see if it does make a difference. Yep, notice it's flush now. So I was trying to turn it to see if it would go in, but it wouldn't. So that shaft, align it separately. And that's on the Ocea Jigger. So machined aluminum on both of these. What does that mean? Higher tolerances versus a cast. Ideally no flex, ideally. But notice, just remember that there's a finer tooth on the gears, even though they're the same gear ratio. This 6.2, I believe, on both of them. I think you'll see it on this one somewhere. Darn it. I'm not sure where to look at to see it, but I'm going to find it. Anyways, let me move this, take out the spool. Here is the gear on this side. This is for the spool lock. And notice how there's a single dog paw in there. And that would lock it in place. Very light frame, aluminum. And single bearing in there, so it rests on the inside of that. And a bearing on this side. That's with open drag. Okay. There it is, 6.2 to 1. Same gear ratio, differently built gears. I would assume all the same. So you know that these they're all universal handles, so they would fit on either side, meaning that you could use a Trinidad or this one, the Ocea Jigger, on it. Good. Doesn't have a clicker, but did you remember those little notches? That's your clicker right there. I didn't finish this all the way, but I'm gonna leave it right there. And while we dissect this one a little further. So we saw this one here, took a look at how we saw with the gears. I just wanna see what else is on this thing. If I'm missing anything else. So someone said, even though this isn't aluminum, it's not a, what is it called? A load bearing part. So not essential. but I want to be able to see if I can take a look. It's like a bearing right here. Very similar. This one, I'm surprised. It looks just like the other Trinidads. The Ocea Jigger is so different. I'm curious now, is the 4000 model, I'm not going to have access to one, but if the 4000 model is any different in the quality, bigger gear, because I mean, like, you're anticipating to put a little bit more weight on the 4000. So here's that graphite material. The spool. And single bearing on the other side. Your clicker gear. This is just for the purpose of clicking now. And the clicker. Just gotta make sure I put this all correctly before I put it back in, or the line might get stuck. And yes, the line's already stuck. Very identical, right, guys? What do you think? Putting it back together now. This is what service would look like. You saw how I removed it. 4 screws to remove this plate cover over. And you're just cleaning out the bearings, whatever you need to do. Put a little bit of grease everywhere, which already has grease. This is pretty much brand new. Not a whole lot of torque that I'm putting into this tightening, because it was the same way unscrewing it. Before I put that, this goes in first. There we go. And then the main gear. Would you prefer to have finer teeth or bigger teeth? What a question there. Double checking the pin. Okay, that's right. Same thing right here. Let's put this in first. There we go. You saw the bearing come out. It should be flush again. Not 100% flush. Let's see why. Trying to look if this needs to rest a little bit lower, but the angle seems right. Perhaps it was that much. Did you notice that the Ocea Jigger uses hex keys, and this Trinidad is Phillips? So just giving you an FYI, I don't know which video I'm going to post first, but this Ocea Jigger, how that entire gear was on the drivetrain face plate. That's how the Talica are on what I've seen on the 15H and the 35H. All right, that's on. Clean my hands, right? One little, it's like a brass washer. It would act like sort of like a crush sleeve. The two washers that are convexed, the edges, the outer rim of it has to face or touch each other, where the convex part on the inside are kind of ballooned. This will give it that pressure that you need as you tighten your star drag. And everything should screw down free. You're not using any force until about towards the end when you're getting it to touch, and that's about it. See, because what I'm doing right now, it spins it. So you can kind of like hold it in place to tighten it a little bit more. It's just about hand tightened. And I'm gonna leave it to about right there right now. Why? I'm gonna do a little bonus. This is a Talica knob. I had it from before. Wish I had the face cover plate on it. I'm gonna try to reuse the one right here. So I'm getting my finger on this perfectly white handle. If you're a fan of the white handle, nice. I'm not. I switched out on my Trinidad 20 already, and I put a Stella knob. That one's really nice. See what I did there? This little plastic cover, 2 screws, and So what you do want from these are all the bearings. There we go. And that's it. Egg handle removed. Which was as easy as it sounded. Bearing in. 2 little thin washers. Bearing on the back side. Okay. Plus the screw. I'm gonna put the screw right in the tip here. That's it. Try to see if I get that to fit. Don't know if that's the exact one. The Talica has a plastic cover usually. If I have to, I'll transfer it over from one of mine, but I'm going to see if this works. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay. Just a little bit of looseness. I want to say that. It's from this part. good. Just get it to where it needs to align.